What's up, everyone? Happy Sunday to you. You know, it's like the more I process this wicked world, sometimes, nothing is shocking to me. Nothing is shocking to me. Always perplexing, never shocking. I think the shock factor is like, I knew this and they lied about it, and now they're being called out. Now it's safe to call out the lies. And I think, this is how they play people in society, where you could be a very reasonable person just looking at the patterns of how things are playing out and having reasonable doubt that something that is playing out the way that it should be playing out, or to the best of its ability. And, you express those reasonable doubts, and then you get met with a lot of criticism and a lot of censorship. And I know that this live stream is probably being censored by those same demons that wanted to censor open dialogue, discussion, and debate about COVID policies and what they were pushing out to the public concerning COVID 19. And, it's interesting because YouTube was a primary culprit in censoring just objective opinions about from medical experts, people who were in the field, in the trenches. And yet somehow they made Fauci and his posse of people the authorities on mitigating this so-called, outbreak. And, again, I think everybody, when you first started hearing about it, it was like, what is this? Because we've heard of diseases before, and then you start to kind of really like look at how the news is projecting stuff and how the media is overhyping or projecting stuff. And you get this sense that, maybe these people are not telling the truth. And then when the vaccine rolled out, this is when you really saw just just to me, just straight medical neglect in the information, the deception in the information, the coercion in the information. And then you saw the reaction of that. What's going on, Howard? I see you. And if you worked at a major company during the rollout of that emergency usage solution, right? And if your company was one of those welfare companies from the federal government, the ones that get subsidies from the government, right? Your HR teams probably were like religious about sending you emails and nasty grams about getting vaccinated and how you can stop the spread, right? They had a whole stop the spread campaign. And then you had medical professionals talking about, like, you know what, this is false advertising. What are you talking about? Stop the spread. Vaccines do not stop the spread. You had a lot of intelligent people countering the lies and the deceptions of these people so that they can keep on pushing panic in the populations concerning concerning that virus. My first YouTube strike on my channel came because I was calling out the bag of garbage that was coming from Fauci and the NIA and the NIH. And here's the thing. You was retired in 2020. You know, a lot of people were forced to be retired because of those vaccines, because you had a lot of companies putting people under duress, right? Again, when I'm talking about HR teams sending nasty grams, and I had two friends who worked at major companies. One of them worked in the healthcare sector, one of them worked in the automotive sector. Both of them 36 years old at the time that they were vaccinated. Both of them ended up with severe heart complications. My one friend, she had to have a rush open heart surgery. My other friend, he ended up having what they called a mild heart attack. And then this is right after he got vaccinated. They did not give him an EKG, refused to give him that, and then refused to attribute this mild heart attack that he had to the vaccine that he had recently taken. So they send him home, tell him that he needs to chill out and get plenty of rest, and that, he's stressed out and maybe he needs to take a couple of days off from work and, relax, right? So he did that, right? And then not even 2 weeks later, he had another heart attack, but this one was worse than the other one. And finally, they give him an EKG and they tell him that he has a mild case of myocarditis, and that for the next 12 weeks, he needs to kind of take an FMLA, chill out, whatever, so that, you know, he doesn't trigger anything. Because basically, he was a ticking time bomb. Every time he would like go from like literally small points in his house, his heart would start racing. And this is all symptoms after he got the vaccine. And, there are a lot of, to me, things that are attributed to that vaccine. But if you were following kind of like Dr. Malone and some of these people who were on the horn talking about these COVID mitigation strategies, some of the things that these people were saying, right? And these people were censored, they were banned from certain platforms because they were telling the truth, right? And they're telling us, trust the science, trust the science, trust the science. How can you trust science that is based off lies and deceptions so that people can get rich off of the population's panic on some bullshit? And not saying that COVID wasn't real. It was definitely an aggressive flu. They definitely gave the flu a function to target people. And it's interesting because some of these diaries, I mean, the reason why we're seeing Anthony Fauci right now is because he called it a witching that Rand Paul was doing. But to me, Rand Paul was really the only real champion that Americans had during that time or whatever, because they were mandating, they were trying to use OSHA to punk companies into force vaccinating their employee bases. So, the fact that this man can sit there and say, well, I'm just being witched by Rand Paul, right? And that you were just sitting up there lying. That man is a demon. That man should be in jail. A lot of people should be in jail because honestly, Fauci was not disclosing a lot of things. He was making recommendations to the public, and he was not disclosing conflicts of interest each and every time he made a recommendation. He should have been disclosing conflicts of interest. You making public statements, public recommendations, you need to publicly disclose your conflicts of interest. He was not doing that. A lot of these companies who were pushing those vaccines on their employees, they weren't disclosing their conflicts of interest, pushing that shit on their employees. Like, seriously. So the fact that, this man was able to just be a part of such, to me, a diabolical, to me, mass test on humanity that involved injecting stuff. And honestly, they were saying that the United States did not vaccinate like Russia and China. They used your normal vaccines. We were not using normal vaccines in this little test and witching on the population. These were emergency usage mRNA. They weren't regular vaccines. And, the fact that this man was able to lie, coerce, or whatever, so that you can brag about how many people you were able to get vaccinated. They're bribing people with burgers and PlayStations to take that damn vaccine. That should have been the trigger for a lot of people. Like, you guys are bribing people to do this. You are putting people under duress to do this. And getting back to both of my friends, which was really messed up, is my friend, he did his little leave and then he got back to work. He wasn't even back at work a month and they let him go. So this is why I tell people, no matter how much you love your job, how much you want to stay at your job, they don't really love you that much. You are really just a number at the end of the day, and they will literally coerce you into taking a solution that you don't even want to take, but you want to keep this job. So you take it, and then not even a month after you take it, you get all fucked up, have to go on a leave. And then when you come back from your leave, right, not even a month after you get back, your ass get laid off. They're cutting people in your department, and you just happen to be one of those people to get cut. Like, and that's what I say. It doesn't pay to try to keep anything in Satan's world, because no matter if you make that decision, right, you still could lose the job. The company could go through mass layoffs and you still could be a part of that cycle. So why would you put something in your body for these people? I was literally prepared to be let go, and I was just going to leave it to the Lord. But what I was not going to do is put something in my body that I did not feel comfortable with, injecting something that some wicked ass human being done made in a lab. And they're telling me to trust the science when the scientists are on a damn TV lying about it. So, and then Biden pardons this guy. And I love what Josh Hawley, kind of pushes back at Fauci and says, it's like, dude, why are you even pleading the fifth? Why are you pleading the fifth? You already know that you were pardoned by Biden. So you're only pleading the fifth because you know that there are some incriminating things that you yourself wrote down, and you don't want to see the consequences. And who the hell prematurely pardoned somebody? What the hell what was Fauci being accused of? This is how you know that they even knew that Fauci was on some old wicked shit. You know what I mean? It's like, why can't we just, it's crazy to me that people like Fauci can run around in his, going on with his life after he has ruined so many other lives. And not only just the patient, he has ruined the careers of many doctors. Many credible doctors had to fight for their careers because they were usurping the lies that he wanted to share with the public. These are credible people that worked their asses off for where they were at in life. And then their whole careers are compromised because they have to play ball with that lying ass little demon. It's crazy. He's pleading because the vax might be worse than we know. Personally, like I said, my mom passed away March of this year. I mean, 89 years old, yes, but I would say she was very cognitive. She was driving by herself still going to the grocery store by herself. And to me, my mom was taking them vaccines. She even got the booster, and I told her, stop taking that shit. And I really do believe that my mom would have lived as long as my Aunt Marie, who was like 102 when she passed on. Same lifestyle, same behaviors. My mom didn't even have any sicknesses like that. And I do believe that her putting that shit in her body, to me, expedited her death. Because again, you're talking about 2020. They didn't roll out the vaccines into 2021, right? And I heard this doctor say anybody that got that vaccine, they are like walking time bombs. He said that like whatever was like dormant in their body, he said that those vaccines have the potential to activate dormant conditions in people. And so, I do believe that those vaccines at the end of the day cause more harm than good. They did not mitigate anything, especially with so many people getting COVID, being exposed to COVID. Again, they were trying to make it seem like herd immunity was just unheard of. You know what I mean? And most of the people that passed on with COVID, A lot of them had underlying conditions. Many of them were already terminally ill. I mean, you basically take a virus that can wipe out a bunch of terminally ill people. I mean, and if it's spreading like that, I can believe that most of those COVID numbers were not healthy people. The COVID deaths, most of those COVID deaths were not healthy people. They were people who had truly underlying conditions that if they would have got an aggressive flu like that, it would have took them out the game. But for the normal healthy person, they were lying about the risk 100%. Why did Dr. Fauci plead the fifth? Because he was lying about some shit. Like, I think nobody pleads the fifth if they have been straightforward and honest, especially when it's concerning a topic like this. You're not pleading the fifth unless you know that you got a lot of incriminating things that could be said that you have to testify under oath to that could get your ass in jail. And Fauci's trying to keep his ass out of jail. And you saw his little wicked looking lawyer back there, smiling and laughing every time he was pleading the fifth. But I am so glad that Josh Hawley was like, that you don't even have to plead the fifth. And that's why his lawyers started looking all stupid and shit, squiggling around. He got that little stupid ass smile off his face really quickly when he realized that you're advising your client on some dumbass shit. Like, it's crazy to me. Like, I can't stand some of these lawyers. They just think, oh, let's do some weird, slick shit and think it's funny or whatever like that. I'm going to plead the fifth. I'm going to plead the fifth. And you think that's funny. Honestly, your client looked dumb and so do you. Y'all both look like two little goofies sitting up there. Tell Anthony Fauci lawyer to take that little wicked ass smile off his face because we ain't taking him seriously. We damn sure not taking you seriously. But I guess it pays to be the kid of a Zionist. Anyways, anyways, I don't even know what to say anymore about this. I mean, to me, I'm not shocked. These people are double talking demons. And, next time they say trust the science, we know that we don't have to. Because honestly, you got people like Fauci who are obviously, they're going to plead the fifth if they have to be accountable to any recommendations that they make to people. So let me know if you've gone through Fauci's diary. Obviously, that is what triggered this. I was looking at, what's her name? Emily Jasinski from Breaking Points. And she was talking about...
I fear. She has chosen to focus on defending the president and attacking the press. Odd. Wildly inappropriate thing for a, quote, neutral journalist to be sending to a source. But, as we know, they became fast friends. Jake Tapper woke me up at 11:23 a.m., I think he means p.m. I went to bed early, furious at POTUS for tweeting about the fact that Jake severely questioned Brett Gerard on State of the Union CNN show today. Jake was really pissed at the craziness of it all. It's like only the people attacking him are on the far right. They're only on the far right. None of them could be people of good faith with whom I disagree.
I mean, it was a media coordination.
Exactly how glowing and inappropriate.
Thank you so much for everything you do.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your service. Greatly appreciate your service to America.
Thank you for your 37 years of service, I believe, to 7 presidents, and thank you for your work over the past year.
The great news is you're sticking around.
And that little demon is a narcissist. People like Anthony Fauci, they are narcissists. And I think the real like horrible aspects about dark narcissists like this is that the more wicked shit they can get away with, the more their ego is stroked. Like he probably felt like he got away with a whole lot of shit with that AIDS thing, right? And then they put him on this COVID thing. Like they basically have fed a narcissistic monster. It's like it's just like an evil doctor, like from hell. And he gets an opportunity and green lights to actually, make recommendations that could potentially be bad recommendations if they're blanketed like he did the COVID. And, This is why I do not trust the medical industry. This is why a lot of people do not trust the medical industry. I think COVID really traumatized people from this whole idea of the healthcare system. And, like one of my friends pointed out, why is there a snake part of that symbol? And again, the devil is always in the details. These people are not trying to cure people, they're trying to create customers. They're trying to create test dummies. They're trying to see if these drugs are going to work for a segment of people so that maybe it could work for some elite person who has a problem. I really looked at that COVID mass vaccination as doing just a like clinical trial on the entire nation to see, what would be the results. I'm a biomed science and I fucking hate the med system. You know, I don't blame you. I mean, here's the thing. Anytime, your doctor says, well, you got to sign a waiver if you don't take this little thing or whatever, because the insurance company would get mad at me. It's like, you get the feeling that even your regular practice doctors are not doing shit in your best interest all the time. If they're profiting, in any way for, from their, and you want them to profit. If you're rendering a service, you should get paid, you should profit. But when you are incentivized to recommend things that are against people's best interests, right, for a profit, right, that makes you, to me, you're a demon. You know what I mean? You're a wicked person because now you're just doing shit just for the profit. I've heard of people getting diagnosed with cancer by doctors just so that they can start expensive cancer treatments that these people can bill their insurance company. You know what I mean? Like these things are like totally common situations, unfortunately, where these doctors are diagnosing people with shit they don't even got just so that they can prescribe them shit they don't really even need. And then prescribing them the shit that they don't even need, right? It creates other problems. You know what I mean? I'm almost like feeling like like some doctors, they'll see like the onset of a problem, but it's not further enough for them to feel like they can profit from a treatment. So they'll just let it get worse. And then all of a sudden you got some shit that came out of nowhere when really it was probably foreseeable, but it wasn't profitable enough for your doctor. And that's how I look at these people. But let me know if you saw Fauci testify. I mean, you had a lot of credible doctors that were firing at him because, basically he shot a lot of people's credibility with his lies and deceptions, and people have to really pick up their careers and try to pivot on some instances. Like I think Rob Malone, I used to follow him on LinkedIn, and yeah, I'm still banned from LinkedIn. Not sure if Rod Malone fought LinkedIn. I really just said fuck LinkedIn because it's a Zionist organization, and I understand how these demons like to control layers of societies. And to me, LinkedIn is the number one go-to career site. So you're basically weeding out the people that can get jobs. So I see how LinkedIn work. I've been banned since 2023 just for saying that I'm a biological woman. Like, I mean, I think I said, like on LinkedIn, they had people with all kinds of dumbass pronouns, and they were just really pushing this pronoun shit on LinkedIn around that time. And it's just like, my pronouns are common sense. That was my post. My pronouns are common/sense. And those assholes literally, and I have 33,000 followers, organic followers on my LinkedIn page. It's like, and I built that audience in like 3 years. So it's like, to me, it doesn't even pay to get overly invested in some of these platforms too. Because if the demons want to, say, well, you can't use our platform anymore because you're not playing ball with our lies on COVID or men living as women, identifying as women, right? If you don't play ball with those satanic lies, then we're going to censor you and stop you from being able to build an audience. So that's kind of what I had to deal with. But a lot of people got censored. They had to really pick up, rebuild their audiences on their platforms or whatever because they were suppressed or banned from platforms, and for just simply telling the truth, for simply calling Fauci the liar that he was, the manipulator that he was. And a lot of people suffered because of that demon. So, I hope he goes to hell with Exxon on his drawers. I hope that he has a series of horrible things that really makes the rest of his life horrible, right? I really hope that Fauci, and it's really going to have to come from the God of Abraham, Isaac and Jacob. And, I know, my Lord, you say that we should not curse people, but perhaps you would incline yourself to embarrass that man with a condition that will make him a spectacle to the world. That would be wonderful. But anyways, you guys, have a what's going on, Ghetto Planet? These people are diabolical and the citizens are sheep. I mean, and that's the whole thing too. When you look at, COVID as an exercise on the weakest people in society, right? You realize really quickly that we don't have a lot of strong people in society. We don't There were way too many people who were on a herd mentality to take the vaccine. They were cutting off relationships with people, cutting people off from going to different events, right? Because of something that was exaggerated. It was exaggerated at best. And it's probably more detrimental to those people who got it than they even realized themselves. Again, I would love to know how many people were relatively healthy, and then within this 3 year time, what is it, 26 now, 5 years, were they, did they have serious illness? Because I would say this. Like I said, there was a trend with those vaccines at rollout. And I would say 6 months in, there were people dying of heart attacks. You had this spike of people dying of heart attacks. I know several people who just suddenly died. And matter of fact, there's this guy on Substack, and he has this newsletter called "In Remembrance of All of Those Who Suddenly Died." And this guy is just kind of going through different anomalies around the world and different patterns of different things and stuff. And he was calling out that correlation between the spikes in these heart attacks of young people, athletes. See, y'all don't remember that because I think some people, attention span is very short. But there was news reports of athletes just dropping dead after those vaccines because they were forcing these people to get vaccine. This is when Aaron Rodgers were taking a lot of heat. There was a lot of athletes was like, "Nah, I ain't gonna take it." And then you saw the ones that did take it. You had some of them, they falling out, collapsing, all kinds of shit. But they are not going to focus on that because they don't want people correlating those things. And again, like you said, Ghetto Planet, people in American society are dumb. I really believe liberal politics was part of the two-prong attack that pushed people to Trump so we can be screwed over again. I can believe that, but I do believe that there's no pendulum swinging in any of these politics. I think that one side does like all this extreme shit, right? And then the other side just, acts like they're a counter to that extreme shit and they're the more virtuous people and, they care more about people's freedoms, right? When all of them are just manipulating people, and, I don't even know if I can say liberals push people to Trump, but I can't. Well, yeah, they did because they did all that little, turn your kid gay shit. You know what I mean? They couldn't just let the Canaanite kids and the Canaanites raise their kids that way. They needed to superimpose that shit on other people. And that definitely, you start attacking people's kids, that's like war. That's war. If they were going to push that anymore, you were going to see, you saw how these parents was acting up in these school boards. Like the next step is like, bitch, let's pull a Boston Tea Party on these hoes. Just stop paying taxes. You can't fund a Zionist if you don't pay taxes. That's what I've come to learn in all of this. If every American decided to stop paying taxes tomorrow, what they gonna do? Lock us all up? But if every American was like, man, fuck you, fuck your funding of bullshit that don't benefit me, and if everybody stop paying taxes, what the fuck they gonna do? What are they gonna do? You definitely can't fund the Zionists with American taxpayer dollars that are not being paid to the IRS, which is also a Zionist structure in itself. Just like all the alphabet squads in this country are all Zionists. But anyways, well, now America is going through a reckoning because they refuse to correct the political system. America is going down. This nation is collapsing fast. And again, when you let Zionists infiltrate your nation, they do not make things better. They don't make things better. They do not, they're leeches. They do not improve anything. They will leech off of everything, siphon everything, the talents of the people, the money systems. They don't make anything better. They make things worse for any nation. That's why they've been kicked out of so many different nations throughout history, because people peep the game. And this dude, he like really be like defending these people. And it's like, bro, I'm sorry, you want to call everybody Hitler and shit like that. It's like Hitler was probably seeing this like, and I already did a whole thing about Hitler. He was part of that bloodline too, but he was a hater of it. He was self-hating, just like Martin Luther was actually part of that bloodline, but they were self-hating. And it benefited them more being against those people because maybe they just peeped the patterns, right? But you can't sit up there and call people from different nation, different culture, idealisms, anti this if they're making the same conclusions about the same damn people. Like, to me, instead of calling everybody Hitler, to me, you need to start changing the patterns, recognizing the patterns that everybody seems to be coming to these conclusions at the same, from different cultures about the same group of people. And, that's not to put a blanket on all of them. But again, I always say, check your people. Check your people. Check your people. Anyways, you guys, I didn't want to stay on long. It's just, I was looking at, Fauci looking like a demon. Looking like a demon with immunity. Right? And his demonized looking ass lawyer in the back, smiling of, tell him, plead the fifth. Plead the fifth. Plead the fifth. Right? And it's like, why would you even have to tell him that? You got immunity. You can't be prosecuted for anything anyways, because Joe Biden theoretically pardoned you for something that you really wasn't even accused of yet. Like, and I wonder how that pardon actually is legitimate. Like, how is Joe Biden pardoning Anthony Fauci and there was no accusation on the table, at least no like indictments or anything like that? How are you pardoning somebody? How could a pardon like that even stand? I would love to know if the Joe Biden pardon on Fauci actually stands, because what the fuck was he pardoning? That's like me like becoming president of the United States and me saying, yeah, I want to pardon, my family has never, committed crimes. You know what I mean? But I want to, pardon, my family in advance. I want to pardon my family in advance for anything that might come up that they might be accused of. It's like, how does a pardon like that really work, actually, when there's nothing on the table? Like, there was not an accusation. How could that even legally be legitimate? You got to get rid of the pardon system, at least without judicial review. I agree, because it's like, how the hell are you pardoning him? I mean, it's like Erica Kirk talking about some I forgive him, and you don't even know who the fuck really shot your husband yet. It's like, why are we doing things prematurely? Like, how is Fauci even sitting down with the pardon? What was he accused of that he had to be pardoned for? I mean, I would love to know that. Somebody let me know, if you are familiar with the pardon process, how that pardon that Joe Biden did with Fauci could even be legitimate, considering there was really nothing on the table. I thought this was for people who were convicted of crimes, or, are indicted on crimes, or, like, it's publicly known that there was a crime committed, right? I mean, as far as we know, Fauci just made bad recommendations. But now it comes out that Fauci actually knew way more than he was lying to us about. So, anyways, you guys, this is Satan's world. This is Satan's world. Keep your prayers up. Love your neighbors as yourself. If you would not disrespect or abuse yourself, do not disrespect or abuse your neighbors. Shout out Ghetto Planet. And, for those of you who are strong with convictions and you did not get punked into taking that vaccine, I salute you. I salute you. I salute you. All right? Because I see a lot of these people who got vaccinated, who got punked into taking the vaccine, right? They cope in all kinds of ways. They are coping all kinds of ways after this Fauci pleading the fifth. It's like they sound just as stupid as they did trying to convince other people to take a solution, talking about, you protect, other people. It's like, if you're vaccinated, aren't you theoretically protected from me? Like, half of the dialogue around that shit didn't even make any sense. And again, they were advertising the vaccine on stopping the spread. And again, that slogan was against science. And we had a doctor here in Michigan testify about how vaccines work, what they do and what they don't do. And what they don't do is stop spreads. They help mitigate the disease for the individual person. So again, I feel like I thank you, Lord, that I paid attention in science class. Thank you, Lord, that I paid attention in school, because they were not able to pull the wool over my eyes with that bullshit. I did not take that vaccine. I did not give that vaccine to my family. And honestly, I will not date anybody that have taken the vaccine. If you're looking to build a family, I wouldn't want to, I would literally align with somebody who has the same vaccination status as you, because you don't even know what those things are going to do long term. But anyways, you guys, that's just me. I'll be friends with you, but we cannot be lovers. We will not be procreating, right? Because I don't know. I don't want no aliens. I don't want no aliens. But anyways, you guys, you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.